If you found this message, it wasn't random. You were meant to hear this not to feel better, but to wake up, because the truth you've been avoiding is the one that sets you free. From the moment you were a boy, you were fed a fantasy about love, that if you're kind, loyal, and present, she love you forever. That if you listen to her, stay faithful, and support her emotionally, you'll win her heart. You were taught that consistency is king, that reliability is what women crave, but no one told you the price of giving her everything too soon. No one warned you that the moment you give her emotional security, she may lose attraction. Not because you're weak, but because security to her often feels like routine. And routine, for many women, feels like boredom. You believed that love meant giving time, giving attention, giving presence, but giving too much without her earning it makes her restless. She wanted a feeling, not a future. She didn't want a provider, she wanted a spark, the thrill, the emotional high, the unpredictable tension that makes her heart race. She wanted someone who pulled her out of her own emotional monotony, and when you gave her peace, she mistook it for dullness. When you gave her effort, she saw it as overflow, and slowly, without warning, she started pulling back. The woman who once texted nonstop now replies with silence. The one who looked at you like you were everything now barely meets your eyes, and you're left confused, hurt, and asking what you did wrong. But it wasn't what you did, it's what she felt, and feelings for her are stronger than facts. You didn't change. She did. Her emotions shifted, and instead of grounding herself in the reality you built, she chased the emotional hit of something new, and you were never prepared for that. Because no one told you that being good doesn't guarantee being loved. Number one told you that women can crave the chase more than the connection. That she can say she wants loyalty but get addicted to unpredictability. And now you're waking up to the truth. What you were taught about women, love, and relationships was incomplete. And if you keep playing by those old rules, you'll keep getting the same result: confused, heartbroken, and lost. But now you see it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. You thought you were building something real. You showed up, stayed, consistent, gave her your loyalty, your time, your patience. You were the man who listened, who cared, who remained steady even when her emotions shifted. And still, without a warning, she changed. She started creating distance, not physical at first, but emotional. The calls got shorter, the texts less enthusiastic, the warmth in her voice disappeared, and you were left analyzing everything, wondering if you missed a sign, trying to pinpoint the moment she pulled away. But that's the thing, there often isn't one moment. There's no logical explanation, because women don't fall out of love logically. They drift emotionally, slowly, silently. Then one day, they act like it never meant anything. She didn't sit down and weigh the pros and cons of leaving. She didn't map out a reasoned conclusion. No, she felt something different. A shift. An emotional change. And that feeling overpowered the reality of everything you'd given her. That's the part men struggle with most. Accepting that feelings, not facts, often dictate her decisions. Even betrayal. Even abandonment. Even blaming you for the emotional fire she set. And when she finally exits, you're left in the ashes of something you didn't even know was burning. You're left trying to make sense of a storm that had no weather warning. And here's the trap. You think it's your fault. You think you weren't enough. But the truth is, her shift wasn't because you failed. It was because her emotional experience changed. She no longer felt what she wanted to feel, so she chased something else. Something that made her feel alive, even if it was reckless. Even if it meant walking away from a good man. And that's the bitter truth. You can do everything right and still lose. Because love, for her, isn't a decision, it's a sensation. And when that sensation fades, so does her loyalty. You didn't lose her because you lacked value. You lost her because she stopped feeling yours. She didn't want peace. She wanted power, emotional leverage, the ability to pull your strings, without saying a word. That's the part they never tell. Many women aren't looking for love. They're looking for control. And the way they get it is through emotional unpredictability. One day she's warm, the next she's distant. One moment she's all in, the next she's gone. It's not always conscious, but it's effective. Because while you're left overthinking, chasing, trying to fix what you didn't break, she's watching to see if you'll fold. The moment you become consistent, emotionally available, stable, she tests harder. Not because she wants you to fail, but because part of her is wired to lose interest when there's nothing left to chase. She may not even realize it, but the chaos keeps her engaged. It's why she's more drawn to the guy who treats her like an option than the one who gives her everything up front. Not because she wants to be disrespected, but because unpredictability triggers a deeper emotional response. And that's where most good men fall. They think, if I just love her harder, she'll see my worth. But love isn't enough. If she can't feel your strength, she respects clarity. She craves emotional authority. The second you start bending your boundaries to keep her, you lose her respect. You stop being the man she looked up to, and become the man she can manipulate. That's why the guy who sets the tone, who leads, who doesn't react to every mood swing, that's the man who captures her attention long term. Because while she might complain about not knowing where she stands, the truth is, she's magnetized to the man she can't predict. Not the one who gives in, but the one who walks away when his standards are crossed. This is where everything starts to shift. You stop reacting. You stop explaining yourself to someone who thrives on confusion. You stop chasing clarity from someone who isn't giving it willingly. Instead, you become still, calm, grounded, and that stillness, that emotional self. What separates men who are controlled from men who lead? She's used to triggering reactions, watching men fold under pressure, bending at the first sign of disapproval. But when she tests you and you don't flinch, that's when everything changes. You don't argue to prove your worth. You don't explain your standards. You don't justify your silence. You simply observe. Because now you've learned that her words aren't the truth, her behavior is, and you respond accordingly, without emotion, without apology. That's masculine control. It's not loud, it's not aggressive. It's powerful because it's unshakable. She won't know what to do with that version of you at first. The man who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't dance around her moods. The man who isn't afraid to let her walk if she can't match his clarity. And that scares her not because you're cruel, but because you've taken back your power. She no longer has emotional leverage. She can't use silence to hurt you, can't weaponize withdrawal to control you. And now, she either levels up or falls away. Because you've stopped building a life around her reactions. You've built it around your values. And when she sees that your peace isn't tied to her presence, she feels the shift. She knows she's no longer in control. And that's when she sees the man standing in front of her, not the boy she could once manipulate, but the man she now has to respect if she wants to stay. This is where you reclaim everything. Your time, your energy, your focus. You're no longer chasing her love, her attention, her validation. You've stopped auditioning, stopped trying to earn a place in her fantasy. Because now you understand you are the one building. You are the center, and only those who bring peace, respect, and emotional maturity belong in your world. The version of you that once overgave is gone. The man who begged for understanding no longer exists. Now, your life revolves around purpose. Romance. She will feel that shift. The silence in your presence, the strength in your stillness, and for the first time, she realized she's not dealing with a man she can emotionally sway. She's dealing with a man who leads himself, and that either inspires her to rise or intimidates her enough to run. Either outcome is a win, because your peace is no longer negotiable. Your energy is no longer cheap, and love is no longer your weakness, it's your choice. You've become rare, not because you're perfect, but because you're grounded. Your validation doesn't come from her attention, it comes from the man you've become, from the discipline you hold, from the world you're building with or without her. Now, only women who bring real value are allowed in. No more tests, no more games, no more chaos, and when the right woman appears, she won't drain your energy, she'll match it. Not with perfection, but with alignment. You'll no longer feel like you're fighting to be seen. You'll simply feel at peace. That's when you know it's real. Because real love doesn't compete with your purpose. It flows with it. And now, you're done settling for less. Because once a man tastes peace, chaos will never impress him again.